When it comes to health-related statistics, Kentuckians are used to bad news. We know we have a weight problem. Kentucky is one of 12 states with a 30% or higher prevalence of obesity. 11.4% of us have diabetes, more than the national average. But when Men's Health magazine ranked Lexington, Kentucky the most sedentary city in the nation, it was a shock. Scientists at the University of Kentucky aren't taking Lexington's #1 ranking lightly, and they say it's a call to action. The UK College of Health Sciences is doing exercise research on all levels, from the test tube to the treadmill. Associate Dean for Research, Charlotte Peterson, says the goal is to
get down to the really nitty-gritty of how exercise is working so that we can, again, help people exercise efficiently and perhaps understand the interplay between physical activity, nutrition, other environmental stimuli that they're being exposed to try to help them maintain their health. For example, on the treadmill there, with looking really carefully and modeling gait and how your knees need to move and your ankles so that when you're running, you're doing so with the least likelihood of injuring yourself. And the same thing with, the analysis of jumping and changing direction. This is so important, again, for sports like basketball and soccer, which if you don't do so safely and aren't training properly, you're really going to be very prone to injury, and that then just changes your lifestyle so dramatically that will contribute to this sedentary problem that we're trying to avoid. Well, we have both aerobic, so cycling kinds of exercise studies going on in the college, as well as weightlifting, resistance training, to try to understand the mechanisms that allow your muscles to function most efficiently. And that we've also performed a study that we're just finishing up in older people, trying to understand the influence of physical activity on cognitive function.
The College of Health Sciences is part of a unique collaboration called the Center for Muscle Biology. This group of more than 100 faculty, postdocs, and graduate students focuses on muscle weakness and has more than $14 million in grant funding.
As the director of the center, I'm really quite excited because I think there are tremendous opportunities in terms of helping deal with chronic disease issues, so whether you're talking about diabetes, whether you're talking about cancer, whether you're talking about heart disease, while fixing the muscle won't fix the primary disease, it actually may contribute a lot to the wellness of the patient. And I think that's really where we see ourselves contributing significantly.
Faculty at the College of Health Sciences also work with investigators from the Barnstable Brown Kentucky Diabetes and Obesity Center. Dr. Peterson and Dr. Phil Kern are partnering
to try to understand the effects of exercise in terms of maintaining insulin sensitivity and preventing diabetes, and really trying to understand how obesity affects muscle and function, and then how exercise can counteract that.
Dr. Kern says our natural inflammatory system that was intended to protect us just might be contributing to our fat problem.
So it was kind of a surprise to me early on when somebody first took fat tissue from a mouse and found that it expressed inflammatory proteins that we normally associate with infection and cancer. What is that doing there? Having immune cells, having inflammatory cells in our fat tissue might have been a protective force once upon a time. If you just got gored by the saber-toothed tiger when you're defending your home, you might want to have some inflammatory cells nearby in that superficial space to help fight it off. Now, of course, nature never imagined that we would be fat as we are now. So now we have perhaps a natural defense mechanism that's in our tissues, which has gone haywire as we get more and more obese. Not everybody who gets obese becomes diabetic. As we get more and more obese, we develop this low-grade inflammation throughout our tissues, and that makes us more and more resistant to the actions of insulin.
Dr. Kern is targeting inflammation with fish oil. Omega-3 in fish oil protects your heart by lowering triglycerides, but it's also anti-inflammatory.
We're actually taking people, again, with pre-diabetes and putting them on fish oil versus placebo, and we're then doing fat biopsies, muscle biopsies, and we're looking for changes in inflammation that we might have there.
Type 2 diabetes is clearly a big problem in this state and in the country. Type 2 diabetes is characterized by decrease in the sensitivity of the tissue to insulin. So we have this hormone insulin that tells our tissues to take sugars up, and people become insulin resistant. Well, 80 to 90% of all sugar is stored in skeletal muscle. That's where most of your sugar is stored. So we argue that type 2 diabetes is at least in part a muscle disease.
Clinical trials of new drugs and therapies are an important part of UK's muscle and obesity research. Dr. Kern also leads the Centre for Clinical and Translational Science. In June, that centre received the largest grant in UK's history, $20 million from the National Institutes of Health. The goal of that grant? Speed up the process of taking discoveries made in the lab to patients in the doctor's office.
I think that's really part of the rationale behind clinical research, is that you learn from your patients and your patients inform the research. And so you're in the clinic, you're seeing patients, and it helps you recognize problems and helps you ask questions that need to be asked.
What can the average person do right now to improve their health? Stand up and get moving.
I think most of us would say, get out, walk your dog. If you're going to go pick up your newspaper in the mailbox, maybe walk around the block before you pick it up. I don't think the requirements for exercise are extreme. You don't have to be doing this hours in the gym kind of thing, but I think it's more about building activity into your lifestyle, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. I think what people need to understand is by doing that, you're making a health decision.